I'm going to talk a little bit about the Schematron, what it is. I try to make it as short as possible because I think that many of you have been here yesterday, so you already heard this part. What is Schematron? Schematron is a language for making assertions about the presence or absence of patterns in XML documents. It was designed by Rick Gilliff in the late 1990s. It predates XSLT, and it was incorporated into ISO as part of the document schema definition languages multi-part standard. I think it was Kai. The last, it is used as it's widely used as a companion or an alternative to grammar-based validation in XML documents. So that's the feather duster. Things you can't do or can't do easily in other schema languages you can do with a Schematron. I think this makes it valuable in the multi-part standard, and then you have plenty of other use cases where you want to check business rules of your documents. What Schematron allows you to do is to express arbitrary business rules for arbitrarily selected parts of XML documents or of XML data. Schematron has 3 core elements. This is an assertion element that lets you give a human-readable text message. That's something that's special with Schematron too. So you can choose a message that is meaningful to the user of your schema, like non-tech people who will understand what you are trying to tell them. And you have an attribute that performs, that contains an XPath expression that can contain any kind of XPath that lets you test if a selected node matches your criteria. There's a rule element that lets you select nodes from the document and groups the assertions that should be applied to this to the selected nodes. And there's a pattern element that groups rules into meaningful components in a Schematron. That's it in a really simplified way. It's the core of rule-based validation. I skipped the example, or just really quick. This is how a simple Schematron looks like. Where you, in this case, check that the TIRS element that has a type of person has a ref attribute that refers to a TI person element. So what this means is that it's from a digital scholarly edition that if a scholar encodes a person in the text using the RS with the type person, then I can check that he links it to the right entry in the register. So sometimes people link it to other things, like making mistakes in the linking. So this is yeah, a basic Schematron. And as you can see, the error message is something that is non-technical or less technical than just saying that, I don't know, there's an attribute missing or something. So the editor knows what the problem is. And I can tell him in words that he or she will understand, or I hope she or she will understand. Schematron can do way more. You have mechanisms for schema reuse, so you can import, include other schemas. You can compose schemas from external definitions. Schematron supports localization. You have a templating language for the messages, so you're not So you can then make them context dependent. It has a way to template rules. It's called abstract patterns. And Schematron also has its own documentation language, a really simple one, just a title and a P, but you can document the schema in a human readable way. And I know that people do this it's just, before I never thought that somebody would do this, but then I realized, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's my story. Before I come to the implementations part, I hope that I will be able to switch over to Andrew, who is joining us from other places via Zoom. And oh dear, Andrew, no, wait, I have to put this in. Are you there, Andrew? That's, thanks. Andrew, I tried again. Are you there? Oh, so now the question is, we can't. Can you share your? Well, it's your turn, and oh, I get confused. Thanks, Andrew. You could start. Yes. Yeah.
It's my day job and a few ways to contact me. So, yeah, I think I can start. So, good morning everyone. My name is Andy Sales. I'm the project editor of the Schematron International Center. And that means that I maintain the text. And
Sorry.
September 2024 or 2025.
What's that? No. I'm sorry.
So how can you contribute to this effort? Again, as Davi mentioned, that there's a repository within the Schematron organization on GitHub, and you can go there and see the issues, you can add your comments, anybody can do that. You can also access it through our affiliated national standards body, contact them to find out more. And also an option which just requires registering with the mailing list. You can go to schematron.org, and it's a bit quiet there, but you can get a conversation started and contribute that way. So thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of the meetup.
Thank you, and sorry for the audio. I just didn't. I get confused with this virtual worlds.
No problem, me too.
So what do I have to do? I have to share my screen, right? Okay. Oh, it's my turn. Okay, this was the update from ISO. Now I'm going to talk give a short overview over Schematron implementations. There are some. This is, I think this is the most used Schematron implementation still. It's nicknamed the skeleton. It was originally written by Rick Gillith and contributions by others. It's implemented in XSLT, so it's a pipeline of XSLT transformations that turn your schematron into an XSLT that you run on your document, and it creates a report, a validation report. The so-called skeleton supports XSLT 1 and 2. It's MIT licensed. As a matter of fact, it's unmaintained as a software product. If you go to the GitHub repository that I put there, you will see that the repository is archived, which means it's read-only. You can, of course, use the software. You can see the issues. There are some defects in this product, but at the moment, there's no one who is taking care of maintaining this particular implementation. It wasn't an easy decision to make it read-only, but in the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, just no one stepped up and said, okay, I start maintaining this package. So it's better to know that's there and that there are defects. You can see what's not working. Other than that, it's in use, so it's no argument to not use it. Then there are derivatives of the skeleton. For example, Oxygen has a fork, you would say, that's well maintained, that's used in the product. And I know that other vendors did the same. Say they fixed issues in the skeleton or made extensions to it and use it. And of course, it's hard to track where all these derivatives go. Then there's my processor, SchXslt. I'm really sorry for the name. I never thought about people speaking it, just writing. It's a new implementation, published 2019, I think, the first version. It supports XSLT 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. It's also MIT licensed, and the last release was yesterday with a maintenance release. It uses a different algorithm for the validation than the skeleton or the other implementation that might make it faster in certain situations. I also did read the specification intensively, and for example, there's one difference to the skeleton is that I'm quite draconian when it comes to the interpretation of the specification. There are things that I just that the SchXslt just doesn't do because it's not conformant, and it's a good thing, I think. Then there are wrappers for the XSLT style sheets of the skeleton and for SchXslt. There are wrappers for XQuery that just provide XQuery functions that in the back use XSLT, the XSLT implementation. And there are also wrappers for Ruby, PHP, I suppose Python too. And they do the same. They wrap the style sheets. And this means whether you have 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0 depends on the language environment you have. If you use, for example, base X and you don't have Saxon, then you only can use the XSLT1 schematron implementations because you only have XLN. There's a third actively maintained implementation. It's called ph-schematron by Philipp Helger. I think it supports XPath 3 as a query language. And this XPath query language is a native Java implementation. So chances are good that it is, if XPath is enough for you, then you might get a faster validation than with the XSLT approach. ph-schematron also provides wrappers around the skeleton and SchXslt. So you can select which implementation you want to use with ph-schematron. It's Apache licensed, and the last release was in March this year. Yeah, there's SchXslt Schematron by Nico Kutscherauer. The license, I couldn't find the license, so I said that it's unknown. It supports XSLT 1.0 and 2.0. The last version that was released was 0.2 in February 2019, and I talked to Nico, and he sometimes uses this implementation. And I don't list other implementations that are not longer maintained or haven't been released for about 10 years, so that there are some out there. Concluding my overview of the implementations is one success we had with our editorial board group. We composed a test suite that checks conformance with the specification. It currently contains 50 tests. There's a work-in-progress Java application that runs the test cases against a schematron implementation. And I use it to develop SchXslt to see that my changes don't break the standard conformance. If you are interested in working with standards, you're very welcome to double check that they really, well, that they fit the specification. Sometimes it's not clear what constitutes conformance or what doesn't. Personally, I hope that we will be able to present an overview of the level of conformance at next year's Markup UK, so you can compare the products and what they do and what they don't do. Now it would have been time for Nico to talk, give a quick introduction to well, interactive Schematron, Schematron Quick Fix. This is an extension to Schematron that not just reports errors, but gives you the possibility to provide, well, manipulations of the XML document that would fix the error. And if you have an editor that supports Quick Fix, like Oxygen does, you can have a dialogue with the end user that can select the fix. This is incredible. Sadly, Nico can't be here. He will publish his slides, and yeah, he will publish his slides and make them available via Twitter, so you can see what he has cooked up in the past 2 years with Quick Fix. Thank you very much. Now I have to look what's next. Or are there any questions about what we are talking about? Yeah. Oh, yeah, beautiful.